Mr. Harding, welcome back.
Oh, thanks very much.
No worries at all. Good to see you. I'm going to hand you over to my colleague now.
This British kingpin lost his entire drug empire worth £100 million just because of one mistake. James Harding was enjoying his millionaire lifestyle in his majestic Dubai villa and driving sports cars like Lamborghini and Bugatti. But then, he decided to kill someone. That idea alone cost him everything, and just a few days ago he was put behind bars. So who was he trying to kill? Why was this hit so important that he risked everything? Let's find out. From 24 June, James Harding is everywhere on the news for all the wrong reasons. Before telling you why, you need to see the kind of man he is. Until December of 2021, James Harding was living like a full-blown millionaire in Dubai, and not in a quiet or laying low kind of way. He was always spotted staying in 5-star hotels, driving around in the best sports car, booking fancy dinners at Zuma and Salt Bay's restaurant, and chilling at luxury resorts like the Waldorf Astoria like it was no big deal. He told people he was a high-end watch salesman. In reality, he was the boss of a drug empire. An empire so big that it moved a ton of cocaine into the UK in just 10 weeks a few years ago. That's 1,000 kilos of cocaine, which makes it a huge deal. He and his team made £5 million in profit in that short time, and the total street value of everything they moved was about £100 million. He was not doing it alone either. His right-hand man was Jayes Kharouti, who was just as deep in it. Jayes was the one who kept everything running, from arranging shipments and keeping things quiet, to handling the dirty work. Harding trusted him completely. Now this is where they made the stupidest mistake of their lives. They both started using EncroChat. This application is like the criminal version of WhatsApp, but it's encrypted, or so they thought. Harding used the username TheTopsking, and Jayes used Best Tops and Topsy Bricks. They tried to be subtle, thinking no one would ever guess who they were, but they were wrong and underestimated the anti-terrorist force. You see, everything they did, including drug deals, payments, and even planning holidays, was through those phones. Harding even used his EncroChat handle to book restaurants and flights. He sent selfies from his hotel room posed by the pool and bragged about the lifestyle, all while arranging multi-kilo cocaine shipments. He was brave, or you can say a risk taker, but he was not stupid. Harding tried to stay clean on the surface. He had no obvious connections, no suspicious trails, but his past was not exactly spotless. He had previous convictions for drug offences and fake IDs and had already been to jail before moving to Dubai in 2019. Still, out there, he acted untouchable. He thought the UK police could not reach him, but he was wrong. So now that you know who James Harding was, let me show you how he lost his multi-million-dollar drug empire. You see, after making millions moving cocaine into the UK, James Harding decided it was time to expand his empire, regionally and money-wise. But his rival gang was in his way, so he came up with a plan. James and Jayes decided that they would murder their rival's courier. That way, he would not just cut the distribution of his rival gang, but also rob them of their supply. He told Jayes it was time for the full M. It means murder. Both started planning the murder on EncroChat. Harding used the name TheTopsking, and his second-in-command Jayes Kharouti was on there as Best Tops and Topsy Bricks. At first, they started planning a cripe, that's what they called it when they robbed another gang's courier. Just take the drugs, leave the guy. But Harding pushed for more. He said that just robbing the courier was not enough. He wanted his rival gang permanently out of business. Kharouti started working on the plan. He messaged Jimmy Gottschalk. He was another associate who went by Not Nice on EncroChat. Jimmy's job was to find someone willing to shoot the guy. Within hours, he found a possible hitman. Harding was ready to pay £100,000. They had also planned a murder weapon, as Kharouti described in their conversation that he had a strap, which means a gun. He had also arranged a Yamaha T-Max scooter with legit license plates so it wouldn't raise flags on the street. The plan was to lure the courier to a meeting spot, hand him a fake token note as a cover, and then shoot him the moment he reached for it. They also picked a special location for this special task. They chose an isolated car park near Nower Wood Nature Reserve in Leatherhead, Surrey. Kharouti had already scoped it out. He even messaged Harding, saying it was perfect as it was quiet, tucked away, and no chance of someone finding the dead body for hours. They were serious about how they wanted it done. Harding said the shooter should hit both the head and the chest. It's because those are the kill zones. One in the chest can drop someone, but one in the head makes sure they never get up again. He clearly asked for a double tap when ordering the murder. Kharouti went further and suggested that they should go for a triple tap. So at this point, they had it all laid out. They had their target, a shooter, a weapon, his transport, and of course, the getaway route. After their initial conversation, Gottschalk kept things moving as he messaged Kharouti asking for 1 hour to confirm the killer. He was getting nervous and wanted to get the job done as quickly as possible. Now, to their bad luck, the shooter they recruited had a prior conviction for manslaughter. This was not some random newbie, this was someone who had already killed before. The team thought they had found the perfect man. But what they didn't know was that this guy was already on the radar. In the early hours of 3rd June 2020, that same hitman was arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to murder. Police had been watching him. They didn't let Harding or Kharouti find out that the hitman had been arrested. After the arrest, Kharouti started noticing odd things. 2 of their drug runners were picked up on 20 May 2020 with 10 pounds of cocaine in the back of a car, and something about that arrest fell off, so Kharouti started looking into it. Not long after that, he found out that the feds were onto EncroChat, and as soon as he found out, he texted Harding to warn him about it. That was the first sign he knew something was wrong. He said the arrest was not normal. None of them used the application again after that, maybe even deleted it from their phones. Turns out, Kharouti was suspicious for the right reasons. Turns out the French police had already cracked EncroChat's encryption months earlier, and the data had been passed to the Metropolitan Police. Everything Harding and his crew were saying was already logged. Every location, every name, and every picture, even the ones where Harding posed at the Waldorf Hotel in Ras Al Khaimah or flexed shirtless by the pool, he was using the same phone for plotting a murder and taking selfies. And while they were still arguing over whether to do the hit in Leatherhead or somewhere closer to the shooter's house, the entire plan had already been exposed, and they had no idea. The trap finally snapped shut on 27 December 2021 when Harding landed at Geneva Airport in Switzerland. It was supposed to be another easy trip for him. Instead, he was greeted by Swiss police waiting at the runway with a UK arrest warrant in hand. They didn't even let him get inside. The moment the officers approached, one of them said, "Mr. Harding, welcome back," to which he smiled, shrugged, and said, "Oh, thanks very much," as if he had just arrived for brunch. But it was extradition, and clearly not his holiday. But Harding was not the only one. Jayes Kharouti was arrested in Turkey and flown back to the UK in June last year, also under heavy protection. Both of them were linked to drugs and an actual murder conspiracy. The trial took place at the Old Bailey, which is one of the most high-secrecy courtrooms in the UK. Every time Harding was brought in or out, the building was locked down. Police wore balaclavas, the hallways were cleared, and guards stood with semi-automatic crumbles outside the courtroom door. All for one man. That's how seriously they were taking it. Inside the court, Harding tried to downplay everything. When asked whether he was the person behind the EncroChat handle The Tox Gang, he flat out denied it. He claimed he had no idea who was really behind that account. And then he changed his answer. James claimed that it was his intimate male partner who was using this handle. Yes, his whole defense was that his mysterious boyfriend was the real top scotting. He said they lived together in Dubai and used the same devices, but he refused to name this person, claiming that he was scared of him and it was too risky to give his name. But the prosecutors and the judge were not ready to believe a word that came out of his mouth, especially because this partner just happened to use the handle to do everything that Harding was already known for. Booking flights under Harding's name, sending selfies with Harding's own face, making restaurant reservations under his email, and even the Mother's Day booking at the Four Seasons was linked to that same account. But Harding stuck to the story, even when prosecutors showed that the Top King messages matched Harding's movements to the exact time and place. If Harding was at the Waldorf Astoria, so was the account. If Harding posted a picture of himself at Zuma, there was the same phone on the same night at the same place. It was all seamless. And then there was the EncroChat hack itself. That was the game changer. French authorities cracked the EncroChat system in early 2020 and gave access to UK investigators. For months, Harding and his gang thought they were safe, but every message was being copied and logged. The chats Harding sent were not careful. He was managing the entire empire and even planning to get a man killed from his own phone. He was the one deciding when, where, how, and who. That's why, when he tried to play innocent in court, the prosecution didn't even have to argue much. They just showed the evidence and let the jury connect the dots. Then, on June 24 this year, the verdict finally came down. Jayes Harding was found guilty of conspiracy to murder and conspiring to import cocaine. Kharouti had already pleaded guilty to the drug charges, but he was also convicted for helping plan the hit. In the end, it was carelessness that brought down Jayes Harding. He built an empire on clever drug deals, but it was his own stupidity that crushed it in the end. But it is not just Jayes Harding who thought he could get away with it. There are others just like him who thought they were too smart to be caught. If you want to hear their stories, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.